Hello, and welcome to Money Matters. My name is Kimon Hatza, and I'm a business attorney at GrowthCounsel in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We focus our practice exclusively in business transactions, including mergers and acquisitions, financing transactions, joint ventures and strategic alliances, and sophisticated contracting matters. In my personal practice, I emphasize life sciences, technology matters, healthcare, and healthcare IT matters. Today, we're continuing our special series on life sciences, technology, and healthcare leaders in the Delaware Valley. Before we get started, I'd like to remind our viewers that from time to time, financial issues relating to life sciences, technology, or healthcare matters or companies will be discussed on the show. These discussions are not and should not be viewed as financial advice. Moreover, since the show is pre-recorded and can be seen at a later time, the information may no longer be current. You should always check with your financial advisor before entering into any financial transaction. I'm happy to have with me today as my co-host, Charlie Huntington. Charlie is the head of public relations for Life Sciences PA. Life Sciences PA is the voice of advancement for the life sciences in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Charlie, thank you for co-hosting.
Pleasure, Kimon.
So I've been getting a lot of emails lately about an upcoming event, and I didn't realize that the upcoming tailgate, that you could actually win tickets to the Diamond Club to a Phillies game. So now I'm scrambling here last minute, trying to figure out whether I can put together a tailgate to win those tickets. But I'll stop there and I'll let you talk about that event and any other upcoming events on the horizon at Life Sciences PA.
Thank you, Kimon. Yes, what you are referring to is our tailgate, which this is the third year this happened. It started in the middle of COVID as a way for 1,000 people to safely distance themselves from each other, yet get to see each other. Some cases, we haven't seen each other for a year. So great event. People will show up with RVs decorated. And frankly, those are the ones who I would expect might walk off with the Diamond Club tickets. But don't let that deter you, Kimon. It is for the best tailgate setup. That event is actually happening on April 25th. I want to highlight, it's happening on May 9th, but I'd like to highlight something before that's happening April 25th, and that is Lobby Day. Lobby Day is for Life Science PA members to check in with their legislators in Harrisburg. It's something I've done for the past 20 years, and it always proves to be a great day where you walk the halls with CEOs and you get to meet your legislators and members from their team. So I found it very worthwhile. Would encourage everyone whose organization is a member of Life Sciences PA, and that's over 900 organizations now nationwide, actually worldwide, to come out and support this very important industry.
Yes, a great event. I know I've not been to the one in Harrisburg, but I have been with you a couple of times to the one in DC. So I know that to be a great event, and I would recommend it to folks. We do have a terrific guest today and a lot of ground to cover, so I'd like to bring him out. Before I do, I just want to tell our viewers, if you have a question that you would like us to answer on a future show, watch this short video to see how you do it.
You can have your questions answered on Money Matters. Please go to our website, money-matterstv.com. On our homepage, click on the banner on the right that says, Send us your questions. While you're on our website, you can find information about our host and guests, as well as show notes and links about this show and past shows. Money Matters is also available as a podcast on iTunes and Stitcher, so you can listen to Money Matters while you're on the go. That website address, again, is money, M-O-N-E-Y, -matters, M-A-T-T-E-R-S, TV.com.
It's with great pleasure that I welcome our special guest today, Vlad Walko. Mr. Walko is the co-founder and CEO of Tile Health, an early-stage healthcare software company in the emerging field of clinical decision support systems that's being spun out of Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, also known as CHOP. Prior to the spin out of Tile Health, he had been splitting his time between being the entrepreneur in residence at CHOP and being a senior advisor in growth equity at Signet Healthcare Partners with a focus in cell and gene therapy. Mr. Walko has a unique blend of general management, investment banking, and private equity experience in the life sciences and healthcare sectors. He spent 14 years during the early part of his career with West Pharmaceutical Services, the world's largest supplier of injectable drug packaging components, where he held numerous senior executive positions, both domestic and international. He subsequently founded and acted as managing partner of Medical Growth Partners, an M&A and corporate development advisory firm to the life sciences industry, and thereafter was managing director of healthcare investment banking at Janney Montgomery Scott. Most recently, he was the founder, CEO, and fund manager for Hatch Bio Fund, an early-stage life sciences venture capital group. Mr. Walko holds a master's degree in biomedical engineering from Stanford University, an MBA from Santa Clara University, and a bachelor's degree in engineering from Villanova University. Vlad, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kimon. Nice to be here. Thank you, Charlie.
Pleasure.
Vlad, what first attracted you to careers in the life sciences and healthcare sectors?
You know, when I first started out, I was in engineering and mechanical engineering, and we worked on a variety of projects, and I found that the ones that kind of gave me the greatest thrill were working on ones that had to do with, in some way, helping people. So, while I was in college, I worked on an electric wheelchair for a while, and then I worked on a ruler that would be used for children with learning disorders, and I really loved to see that I could come up with something that would have an impact on people rather than just another commercial item. So that was a part of it, certainly. And then my parents pointed out that healthcare certainly is an area that's going to continue to grow, and jobs will be available and the need will be there, and so a lot of the signs pointed that this is the way I should be heading. I started out on the engineering side, but as it turned out, after I got my MBA and moved back to the Philadelphia area and joined West, all that kind of changed.
Mm-hmm. So how would you say that your experience, and it's a really broad-ranging experience, both prior to West, when you were at West, subsequently doing M&A advising, and then in the investment banking space, and then now, and then as a VC, starting this VC fund, Hatch Bio Fund. How does all of that experience help prepare you to be the CEO of Tile Health?
Yeah, great question. And you read a lot about at some point you're going to end up at the place that you're supposed to be, and I think I'm finally there. But the experiences I've had have been varied, but come together in especially kind of rare form as a CEO. The work I did at West when I joined them, it was something they called the Young Tree Program. And what they decided was to bring in a few graduates from business school or law school and plant these small trees among the mighty oaks and then grow them, and eventually, when the mighty oaks fell, they would have the next generation of leadership. So I was very fortunate to be one of the young trees and go through that type of an experience. So as it was mentioned before, I think I had 11 jobs in 14 years, or 11 titles. and things like vice president of marketing and vice president of research and development, and went to Europe, was vice president of sales and marketing, and then went to England and was the group president of their operations there. So I had the great opportunity to actually work in a number of the functional areas, being prepared to put it all together as a CEO. As it turned out, I moved into a role which was senior corporate development head, and found that I just fell in love with the deal business. And so I put together a number of successful deals at West, and really impacted stock price, and thought, geez, this is something I'd like to do a lot more of, and maybe build a business around it. So I left and I started a company called Medical Growth Partners, which still exists. And it was transaction based, initially doing a lot of merger acquisition, due diligence and licensing and partnering. And then eventually I happened to fall into an area of that was a mega wave at the time, which was pharmaceutical outsourcing. So in the early 2000s, late 90s, there was a wave that took place where many pharma companies looked to move operations outside that weren't essential operations, things like laboratory services, things like manufacturing, certainly small batches, things like that. And a whole industry grew up around that, which is called either pharmaceutical services or pharmaceutical outsourcing. And I was fortunate to be kind of a pioneer in that area, and got to know everybody and everything that was going on. And so I really became very sought after as an advisor on transactions that were taking place in that space. So that eventually kind of took me into the private equity group when they found that I knew that space so well. Many of the private equity groups decided that that's where they wanted to invest. As you might know, private equity would love to do more in healthcare because the growth opportunities, but in fact, they really don't like drugs. Drugs have what are called a binary outcome. Either they are successful or not successful, and then you either lose all your money or you make a lot of money. So they don't like that binary approach. They're always looking for other areas that are more attractive. So it turns out that one especially attractive area is the picks and shovels, or pharmaceutical services, the blue jeans, the things like that. The people that made the money during the gold rush weren't the miners; they were the people selling the picks and shovels. So that same philosophy is one that most private equity companies like to follow, and so they're investing in the companies that no matter whether the drug is successful or it fails, they're still going to make money because they're still selling the laboratory equipment and disposables and the other equipment that's used to try to get the product to market. And as a result of that, I became kind of sought after as an advisor in private equity, and worked with Arsenal Capital and Signet Healthcare and Safeguard, and just about all of it from time to time. And so really got a great opportunity to look at a wide variety of companies and in this space. And what I've moved into now, what I found is over time in the pharma services space, after it had been discovered, there was a great deal of consolidation. So there were fewer and fewer of the kind of really good companies available because they were bought up early in the consolidation. So I started to look around, and I thought, well, the next big area is going to be cell and gene therapy, and they're going to need services just like the pharmaceutical industry did, and they're going to need disposable products and their consulting and everything else that pharma needed, but it'll be a little different. And so I moved over in the last few years to focus on cell and gene therapy and the types of products and services that they will need. And it's exciting. It's a great area.
As kind of a serial entrepreneur, what will you anticipate being the most challenging aspect of your role as CEO of Tile Health?
It's I think it's common to all of them, and it's one advantage that I have that I think some CEOs haven't had in terms of experience, is that key to being a CEO of a young company is being able to raise funds, and it's something I hadn't done a lot of, but then as an investment banker, I started to do some of that type of work, and then I got involved in raising something that here in Philadelphia is called the Hatch Bio Fund, which was intended to be a $50 million companion fund to a couple of incubators here in Philadelphia, the Pennsylvania Biotechnology Center and the new incubator downtown at the Sierra Center that's called B Labs, and a couple of the most successful incubators in the country, but didn't have a fund that could invest in the young companies, and therefore didn't make any great profits. So I joined them. I left investment banking and I joined them to try to raise a venture fund. Something that I think that, especially at the early stage, this was intended really to invest in companies in our incubators and mitigate risk by actually living with the companies that you're investing in. I always use the example that I felt like a teacher in high school that could look at the class and kind of, anticipate which 3 or 4 were going to college and which ones may not make it. So that same philosophy, was apparent in the incubator. We could see which companies, were getting traction, that were well managed, that we thought would be good, and so it made a lot of sense to have a fund to deploy and to invest in those companies we really believed in. So I was in the process of raising that fund when we got an offer to buy the fund, and we ended up selling the fund and giving me the opportunity to move on once again and try something new, which then led to Tile. And the way Tile happened was while I was at Hatch and looking around and talking to, there are so many groups in the Philadelphia area, wonderful groups like Wistar and CHOP and Penn that are looking to spin out companies. But there are 2 things very often that are missing. One is capital. And the second is a CEO that's willing to step in and not take a salary for a couple of years until they're able to raise funding to support themselves. And so those couple of pieces are hard to find. But in this particular case, I was approached by a colleague over at CHOP, and he said, "Gee, it would be great to partner with both Hatch and the incubators, because Hatch would be able to provide funding and the incubator provide a wonderful resource to house that new development and help it grow." And it sounded terrific. So after the fund was bought, I decided to go back to CHOP and say, "Hey, remember that technology you showed me? I think it has legs. I'd like to take it out. I've got the wherewithal right now and the time to do that." And they said, "Well, sounds great. Let's do it." So they were a great group, very supportive, just terrific folks. They actually have an office of innovation, external innovation, that's intended just to do this. And I was kind of a guinea pig in their first entrepreneur in residence to take a look at developing a model along with them about how this might be spun out. So for about the last 8 months, we've been doing that and putting the pieces together, and we're just about ready to launch. So I'm at the challenging point I talked about earlier. Probably the most challenging is the fundraising part. Especially right now, unfortunately, what's going on in the environment has changed a really kind of go invest environment to one that's become much more cautious. And even with small investors looking around and seeing what's going on and being concerned about a potential recession, they are saying, "Well, Vlad, we're gonna just hold for a while." And not do anything. And these very often, as you know, when you're starting a young company, the first round is called friends and family, because who else is going to invest in you? That's going to be somebody that trusts you, that knows you,
Right.
because they don't know anything about the technology or the promise or the intended success. So they tend to lean in a lot and look at the management team and who's behind it, what their track record's been, and very often those are your friends and family, for better or worse. And, sometimes it makes Thanksgiving dinner difficult if things don't go well, but if it does, hopefully everybody's one happy family.
Yeah, you're a hero. Listen, Charlie has some questions for you about Tile Health, so I'm just going to let him go.
Hey, Vlad. So you talked about how you got involved with Tile Health. Can you explain a little bit about what exactly Tile Health, what it is you guys are trying to solve within healthcare, let's start with that, and then I know we've got in the spirit of a picture's worth 1,000 words. We'll put an image up on the screen and let you talk our viewers through that.
Great, thank you. That's a great opening for me. What was happening in our hospitals, not just at CHOP, but almost all hospitals, the physicians and the other clinicians were really dealing with a very stressful part of their job, which is using what are called the electronic health records, electronic medical records. And most of those records that are being used were developed by a couple of companies, Epic and Cerner, which originally were more involved with the accounting systems, billing systems, and things like that. And then they eventually kind of morphed into patient record systems. But in that process, they lost a lot of kind of the medical meaning and didn't create something that was user friendly. So it turns out that many studies now have shown the number one stressor in a physician or clinician's day is using these electronic health records, and they hate them, and some of them people refuse to use them, and they're now getting physicians that are actually leaving, believe it or not, because they're so stressed out by using these records. Very often they'll have in 5 minutes, or even in an emergency room, even less time to take a look at what's been happening with a patient. They may have to look in 15 different places to look at the different charts to understand, and when they do that, they don't have any visualization of how this has been occurring. So the time sequence is lost, and it just doesn't give them the information they need. And you would hope they have the whole evening before they see you to look at these records and figure it out, but they typically have, as you know, 5 minutes before they walk in or while they're sitting there with you to do that. So they don't have the time. And, in places like an emergency room, they certainly don't have the time to do that. So CHOP finally decided to do something about it. They put the resources together, both the IT and financial resources, to solve the problem. And the solution was now a software product called Health Chart, which was developed within CHOP. You see a picture of it here. And essentially, it's a one-page kind of cheat sheet for the doctor that pulls all the information, aggregates it, analyzes it, visualizes it for the patient, or for the doctor and to show to the patient, so that they can see what's happening to that patient very quickly and what's been happening over time. And by clicking on some of the other icons there, they can pull up what's been happening with medication and have our next step is to actually get the prescriptions in from the drugstore, so that we'll actually see that they've been filled, they've been taken, and so forth. We can look at outcomes, look at what procedures have taken place. So it's all on this one page, and the doctors don't have to go out. And in some cases, one doctor told me they looked at 15 different pages of charts before they were able to understand what was going on. So a doctor sees this and they immediately throw their hands up and say, where have you been? I love this. How do I get it? So it's used very broadly at CHOP. They love it there, and because it's been so widely used and accepted at CHOP, the CHOP decided to share it with the world as a product. They believe that it's something that we can take out to other hospitals. So that's when I got involved to start to put together the plan and the resources, the team to do that. And right now, we're, as I mentioned, we're looking for funding to do that. So Ty will have the exclusive global license to the technology, and we'll go out and start to approach other health systems with this technology, and hopefully get them to buy it as well, to license it and pay user fees and so forth. Our first pilot is outside of CHOP. It's down at the Children's Hospital of Atlanta. So that has just started. We'll get more data. And what we're doing as we run these pilots is we're gathering a lot of metrics. So we've shown how much that it reduces doctor stress. We've shown how much time can be saved with each patient, and a number of other metrics which really show that there's a clear ROI for a hospital to do this. So, part of the issue is that when we go to sell this product to a hospital, we're hitting two buyers. We're hitting the doctors that love it and use it and and don't want to live without it. And then we have to talk to the people that pay for it, which may not be as happy a group and aren't impacted the same way. And in many cases, the challenge is that they've spent a lot of money, millions and millions, in implementing the original EHR systems. And so when we come in and say, just if you spend a little bit more, it'll all be worth it. But it's not an easy sell after they already invested that much money in it. The second issue that I see, at least, is that our hospital systems are highly stressed and in many cases not very profitable. So getting them to want to spend money, as I said again, we're trying to gather as much of this kind of value-based information for them, so that they see by implementing this they actually save money, and don't lose money. But it's it's all in the sale and in the challenge of getting to the right people and convincing them of the right story. But
Vlad, we are inside of probably 4 minutes of where, unfortunately, we're going to have you come back on the show, because we're going to be out of time here. Maybe I can just ask you a couple questions quickly, just to get our viewers some of this information. Does the company have any proprietary IP at this point?
It does, and we're planning to put additional IP in there. There's things that have been developed at CHOP that are called clinical pathways that show, if this happens, do this, do that. So it actually, begins to give guidance for, activities that should, or tests should be done. So things like that. But one of the problems with software is once you have patented it, it really opens it up to scrutiny and to easy modification. So a lot of the advice that we're getting from our attorneys is to keep it as trade secret rather than actually patenting it. But as far as actually having intellectual property, there's quite a bit of unique technology that's involved in this. But unless we can really get to something that totally locks it up, I think we'll probably keep it as a trade secret.
I'm going to ask you one other question, and then I'll kick it back to Kimon to close us out here. Do you anticipate any other uses for this technology?
That's a very good question, because it is a tool that can be used for visualization of a lot of different things that take place over time. And that visualization library is core to this proprietary nature of what we have. So we've talked about it, and we really believe that the same technology could be applied to other industries that want to see what's happening in the progression of activities over time in a one-page visualization of it. And so this could be activities in oil fields, it could be in the airlines industry, it could be in a number of others. And our thought there is that we want to stay in healthcare, so that's our focus. But that technology we could sub-license to other groups that have expertise in the areas that I mentioned. But we anticipate the same kind of idea could be used elsewhere.
Okay, I'm going to have to close the show. I think Charlie's right, Vlad. We're going to have you back. There's a lot of really good information here, and I'm sorry we couldn't get to all of it. I want to thank our special guest, Vlad Walko, and I promise to have you back on the show. I want to thank my co-host, Charlie Huntington. Charlie, thank you. As always, a great job. The next guest on Money Matters TV is Oz Rashid. He's the CEO and co-founder of MSH, which is a global technology and talent solutions provider. Thanks for watching, and we will see you again next time.